there are not cheap solutions to completely automate the home. And so I think what you have to look for, two things to drive cost out. One is adoption of standards. That will drive pricing down. But I think, you know, particularly in terms of retrofitting a home, the home automation industry views that as that's dirty, ugly, messy, expensive work, and they charge a fortune for it. Okay, so what we have to do is we have to minimize the touch on the home systems. And our approach, again, not a product pitch, but things that can stick to the wall, things that are done wirelessly, with as least cost as possible. That's the best way to drive cost out. But I'm sorry, you stick a motor in, it's hundreds of dollars. If you're going to drive something with a motor, it's hundreds of dollars. And I'm really skeptical that Medicare is going to reimburse opening and closing a blind. So that's a tough answer in the short term. Long term, we'll see what happens.
Yes.
May I?
Yes.
As you may be aware, the ZigBee Alliance is the NIST-approved standard for smart grid in the home. So smart energy profile is there. Quite frankly, one of the advantages of this approach and in terms of driving cost out is that the infrastructure will be there. No one wants to pay for infrastructure, I mean, unless there is a compelling reason. And quite frankly, if you from ground zero say, I have to get this communication thing in place, that's going to be your cost up. Now, but if there's been another driver, another demand for this technology through the smart grid, you've eliminated that cost component for monitoring. So there are a huge number of, so that's one to the cost issue. But secondly, that grid is going to be in place and available, and I won't say free, but the adder cost is going to be minimal. There is a huge opportunity for services there, and laying that foundation throughout the country is a big thing. There'll be 13 million ZigBee-enabled smart meters installed around the country by the middle of next year, 40 million worldwide over the next few years, and that is a real opportunity for entrepreneurs to figure out how to leverage that grid.
George, I'd add one thing to that, and I think as a utility provider, very important thing to address in terms of how the market responds. There's a privacy issue here, and it overlaps into healthcare as well. But I think there's the approach of doing this from the meter side, where the utility exerts control, and there's the approach from enabling the consumer to aggressively monitor control on their side of the meter without disclosing, you know, do I want you to turn my air conditioning on or off? Well, let me manage that instead. And I think the opportunity for penetration, market penetration there, it really depends on offering both solutions. Yes.
Great question. Is there any other questions? Yes, sir.
It was mentioned that there needs to be maybe a short versus long-term strategy about the usability, the interface, because of the technology-averse generation that's the way that we're considering right now. I'm curious, I'd like you to maybe address the fact that even though subsequent waves of silvers will be much more technologically savvy, they will still likely face some of the same limitations of visual acuity,
I think probably the best example of a really dynamic UI change that would speak to an instantiation of what you're talking about. Look at the change from the Wii to the Xbox 360 Connect interface. I mean, who'd have thunk? You know, I watched the Connect thing. I watched my kids a couple of weeks ago, and after I stopped laughing my backside off as these guys were dancing and seeing how this thing did such a great job, the user interface possibilities there, I think are just huge. I mean, really, Connect is the first step into virtual reality, in my opinion, because I'm not holding anything. This disrupts the Wii, okay? So what will come as a result of that downstream, you know, think Star Trek. You know, there's just an awful lot out there. But this specific instantiations of that, I think we're seeing big UI changes coming. And the separation of the interface from a device dependency, at least as far as carrying one, I think that's the biggest transformative change that will take place, the ability to speak it and have that really work well without learning. And let's look at speech recognition. That's where it's really succeeded. You know, the speech recognition software for a PC, am I, as a touch typist who does 80 words a minute and 95% accurate, going to take something that gives me 60 words a minute and 75% accuracy? No. But I am going to play with a Lego set that has a 20-word vocabulary, and it nails it with everybody that speaks that word to me. I think that's where you see this interface evolution. But brave new world, there's some cool stuff coming.
And if I can add to a very critical piece of technology that I saw on Thursday here at the show that Kip failed to mention, is there's a gesture-controlled waste bin that was shown here that enables you to sort of move your hand and it opens the lid, and then you wave at it, it closes. So these are critical technologies that will improve our lives in the future, sarcastically. But another important thing, to your point, that I saw on the floor a couple days ago was Samsung is showing a Wi-Fi refrigerator. That's nothing new. We've seen those for generations. However, what better application to see if grandmother is up and around to see if the refrigerator door opened, and possibly there's a camera in that door, and there's a screen that says, you know, hello grandmother, you know, did you take your medicine today? And she presses the button that says yes. So some interesting technologies which certainly have great applications for senior care.
Great. Thanks, everyone.
Another really great panel. Well, keeping on this theme of older adults and caregiving, the next panel that we're going to have here is going to be on intelligent systems for caregiving.